Hello everybody, welcome back to Retro Computing Ranch. Today we're going to be adding another new interesting system to our rotation in the form of AT&T 3B2 minicomputers. So I've expressed it before on the channel that I'm intrigued by minicomputers, that I'd like to have a minicomputer. And I was talking to a fellow YouTuber a while back, and what he told me was that when it comes to minicomputers, you just kind of have to be in the right place at the right time. And a few weeks ago, that happened for me. I was in the right place at the right time. An offer was made for some AT&T 3B2s, and I went ahead and decided to take up that mantle. Now, these were generously donated by someone who wishes to remain anonymous. I'm just going to refer to him as Dr. X. So, thank you very much. I hope that that you can see the progress you wanted on these machines, and I hope that we can all have some fun and learn something from them. The interesting story behind getting these machines and behind the machines themselves, from what we believe happened when they closed out production of the AT&T 3B2, these machines were donated to a college, and then at some point they were auctioned from the college and they were purchased, we believe, by a college professor. From there, we don't really know how, they ended up in a barn for some number of decades. And then a while back they were discovered. They ended up in the hands of Dr. X, and then from there they've come to me. So the three machines, plus the expansion module, and a big box of documentation, they were quite a distance away, and that happens with mini computers. You might have to make quite a drive to pick one up. So in this case, it was about a 5.5 hour drive for me each way. So we went ahead and did that. It was, a trunk load of computers, and we brought them back home. So 5.5 hours up, 5.5 hours back. And I've been looking at them over the last few days and reading documentation. I didn't get a full set of documentation with the 3B2s, but I got some documentation that's not online. And I am working at scanning that all in and making it available. So we've got the machines here. Let's go ahead and get them cleaned up first of all, but also check some things out, like make sure that the power supplies don't have reefa capacitors, and that there's no mouse houses in them or anything along those lines. And we'll see where we can go from there. Now, my understanding out of the three machines is there's one that's close to working. There's one that smoked a power supply or something, and there's one that smoked a hard drive. So I know I'm going to have to come up with some parts. That's not going to be easy, most likely. I've looked on eBay and it's almost impossible to find any more than a small selection of 3B2 parts. In fact, when I looked, there was a 3B2 option card and 2 of the 3B2 print advertisements from back in the day. That's pretty much it. That's a sign that this is kind of a rare machine, and I think it's a really cool machine. So join me, let's dig in and see what we can come up with. we're back. So we've gone through the process of taking the machine apart, cleaning up everything. We've taken all of the cards out, cleaned all the card edges, cleaned all the sockets with deoxit, cleaned the floppy drive, and done everything we can to make sure the system is working. So let's go ahead, power the machine on, see what we get, and then we can follow on with some additional actions from there. This is the machine that I was told by the previous owner boots to a point. Um, he gets the Unix splash screen, but then it never provides a login prompt. So let's see if we can find out what's going on there. I'm going to go ahead and hit the power switch on the machine. We have power and diagnostic LEDs. Drive is spinning up. We've got our NVRAM sanity failure. Basically what that's telling us is that the battery on the main board is dead. It's an outboard battery. I will have to get a replacement and get that installed. So I've also been told that on the 3B2, the boot process is extraordinarily long. So let's see what we end up getting to. I think it's probably waiting for the MFM drive to come ready. But I don't have... okay, so the drive is ready. Diagnostics are running. If these pass, we should be getting the Unix splash screen at some point. It's just a matter of time now. My diagnostic LED cleared when we got diagnostics passed on our terminal window. I've been told that this could take 3 to 4 minutes to reach the splash screen. Oh, yep, there we go. So we do have our splash screen. Now, what I was told is this is where it freezes up at. So let's try to get into single user mode. Yeah, there we go. So I think what we need to do at this point is to create a boot floppy and boot the system off of a floppy and get to where we have some utilities available. We probably should file system check the drive and then see if we can access it from the boot floppy. So all right. So after some experimenting, I think I have some issues with my floppy drives. So I have installed a Gotek temporarily into this 3B2. We're going to see if it works better. So let's see if this will work better than the physical floppy disks did. Well, here we go. Okay, we have some options here. Let me see if I can figure out what we need to do. I think we're going to try install. No, that's a directory. Let's tell it to load Unix. It is accessing the disk. So let's see if we're getting somewhere. Now it's probably going to load us into a menu here in just a moment. And that menu is not going to have the options that we want, but there is a workaround for that. And actually it's kind of funny. And then, here we go. So this system does have 2 megs of RAM. Looks like we've got about 1.6 free at the moment. The 3B2 in the 300 series and the 400 series supports up to 4 megs of RAM, but I do not have those memory boards. Nothing about this system is industry standard. The memory boards look very strange. So looking at this menu, we have an option for a full restore, a partial restore, a dual disk upgrade, or a release upgrade, and that's it. We could also quit or ask for help, but there's something buried here. So we're going to type in magic mode. The system is going to respond, poof, and now it refreshes that selection dialog, but you can see we have some extra options here. So now we're going to select shell, and it should drop us out to a shell where we can then mount the hard disk and then see what's on it. And if there is something on it, we may have some options to be able to get that data off the disk. So the first thing that we're doing before we even try to mount the local hard disk is we need to run a file system check, and that's what I've got going right now. FSCK is one of the utilities that is available on the diskette. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So it looks like we do have some sort of file system corruption here. I'm trying to not have it remove anything, especially considering that those files are necessary to boot the system. But I'd like to be able to get it to where we can at least mount the disk. So the command that we have on the disk is fsys, which is a combination of mount and unmount. Before I do that, let me cd to the root of the file system. We're going to do an ls. Okay, so we don't even have ls here. Let's just go ahead and attempt to mount the disk. DSK00. Now hopefully when I issue this, it'll just mount. If there's still something wrong, we'll get an error, and then we'll have to go from there. Okay, it looks like it mounted. Okay, we don't have df either. Let's cd into the install directory. I think we have ls either. Yeah, we don't. Let's see here. Okay, so we need to expand our path to be able to get to what we need to get to. So let's enter that in. So we're going to do path equals / install bin install etc $ path. I have to be really careful what I'm typing here because there's no backspace on System 5. It's just the way the system is designed. Let's go ahead and do an export path. So now let's take a closer look at what we've got on our file system here. This is the file system on the local hard disk. So as you can see, we have some dates here from 1996. Now, is that accurate or not? I don't know. Let's take a look in some of these directories and see what we have. We do have some files here. Nothing that looks entirely out of the norm. Let's dig through just a little bit more. Nope, I should have run an ls-l. I like to get the extended view of everything.
there is not a lot sitting in our Etsy directory. There's not a lot at all. Let's go ahead and get a readout on some of these files. So it looks like we had some users on this system. But are there any real users? Or is it just built in? Yeah, there's not really anything here. Okay. Nope, wrong command, wrong system. Let's see here. We need to get back into our install directory. Yeah, there we go. Now we're back where we need to be. ls-l. So if we go into this mic directory, what do we have there? Yeah, nothing. I feel like somebody tried to wipe this system and it only went as far as it went before it started to fail. I think we're going to end up doing a reinstall on this system if I can't find anything here of use. Not a directory, that's right. Okay. No, there's pretty much nothing here. This system is pretty much gone. Okay, that explains it. Let's see if I can get to on FSys. How do I? Let me pull up my documentation here. All right, so I think I need to do an FSys-U. Let's go ahead and get back to our root. We're going to do an FSys-U /dev/idsk00. That should unmount our local hard drive. Device busy. You know, when it comes down to it, that file system is already mostly gone and damaged. So restarting the system is not going to really cause us any problems. Let's do a shutdown, and then we're going to do -i6-g0-y, which is the correct syntax for this command on this system. We don't have shutdown available. Let's just go ahead and do a reset. All right, so we are at the system failure prompt, and we are ready to get started on re-imaging this system. So what we're going to do first is we're going to enter MCP and return, and that will bring us to the enter name of program to execute with no default. So we'll hit carriage return here, and it's going to offer us to boot from the FD5, the floppy disk, or from the HD72, the hard drive. So we're going to choose to boot from the floppy drive, disk 0, and I have the 3B2 maintenance disk in the Gotek, and it is reading the disk now. So this is going to give us the option to pick what we want to run. We're going to choose ID Tools. So once this disk loads up, we will have some options here as to what we want to do. We could format a floppy, we could format a hard drive, and there are other options there as well. We're going to choose to format the hard drive. What this will do is low-level format the MFM drive that's in this computer. Here we go. So we'll hit return here. And then we're going to use the hard drive formatter. So the command that we'll type in is formhard. And carriage return. So it's asking which disk we want to use. It is possible to set up the AT&T 3B2 in a 2-disk configuration. And in that case, the original primary drive would be 0, and the add-on drive would be 1. We don't have that. We just have disk 0, so we're good with the default here. And it wants the current config table values. We're probably safe to use what's here. I've got the information for this drive, so we'll walk through the wizard and make sure that we've got the right information. I know that drive ID 5 is correct. 925 cylinders is correct. 9 tracks per cylinder. 18 sectors per track. 512 bytes per sector. That's all good. So we confirmed that. Now it's asking if we want to modify the backup defect table. We're fine to select no here. And it's asking if we want to recreate the defect map. If we chose to do that, we'd have to re-enter everything that was on the original defect list. Now, that is on a label printed on the top of the drive, but I feel confident that we've probably got that information already in the defect map. So let's choose no and see what it gives us. So I'm looking at the defect map on the top of the drive, and everything that's on the defect map on the drive is also in the list that was pulled from the drive, at least so far. Yeah, so that's everything. So all we need to do is carriage return to keep the current list, which is fine. Okay, so now it's asking if we want to format the entire disk, if we want to format a single track, or if we want to format from a selected track to the end of the drive. Now, in this case, we're redoing the entire drive, so type 1 is fine. And it's confirming that we want to continue. We do, so we'll hit yes or Y and then enter. So now it is going to cycle all the way through, all the way up to 952 cylinders under cylinders formatted, and then it will do the same under verify. That's going to take quite a while, so I will go ahead and either speed it up or clip it out, one of the two. All right, we're back. So we have finished the low-level format on the drive. All the cylinders have formatted. All the cylinders have verified. The utility has exited correctly. So it looks like we are good here. What we are going to do now is we're going to type Q for quit and hit enter. So now we're back at the boot prompt. I'm going to, on my GoTech, cycle to the Essential Utilities Disk 1. That is basically the first disk of the install set. So we'll hit enter and we'll select disk 0 for the floppy disk. We are loading Unix from a floppy, and it does take quite a while. Let me go ahead and start the next phase here. We're going to select Unix. So, of course, it's a floppy drive that we're loading Unix from. We're going to be loading it to an MFM drive in due time with the installer. Of course, now we're going to be loading it to RAM. But the Western Electric LMAC32 CPU that's in this computer, I don't actually know offhand. I think it runs at 8 megahertz. It could be running as fast as 10 megahertz. Either way, it's slow for today. Of course, back in the early 1980s when this system was designed, 83, 84. That was a fast CPU, and being 32 bits, it was really revolutionary. We'll talk about the Western Electric Belknap 32 architecture in a future video. Now, of course, these days you're going to feel the pain of waiting for the system to get somewhere, but that's part of the joy of vintage computing. So we're just going to keep rolling along here and waiting for this disk to load. I can see that it is counting through the tracks and heads as it accesses data. So it is moving along. Yeah, there we go. So there's our splash screen. That's the first phase. Now we're going to have to wait until it finishes the second phase, which I believe takes a similar amount of time. I've done a lot of this work already in the emulator, so I know what it looks like, and I will end up doing a video on the emulator in the future so that you too can have the 3B2 experience at home. I see that we have an error that just popped up here. Now this is an expected error. It's saying bad sanity word in the VTOC on drive 0, which this drive is freshly low-level formatted. There's no partitioning, there's no file system, there's none of that stuff. So that's why it's upset. Now we are being prompted as to what kind of installation we want to do. As I just said, this drive is freshly low-level formatted. We can do the full restore. We also have options for a partial restore or a dual disk upgrade or release upgrade. We don't have to worry about those right now. So let's go ahead and select option 1. And then we're going to confirm with a Y that that's what we want to do. By the way, I did turn off my webcam. What I'm going to be doing is basically recording the entire install process, but it is a lot of waiting, and so I will speed it up in the edit so that you don't have to sit here for 35 or 40 minutes. And we'll just make sure that you can see the whole process, and then we'll come up at the end and take a look at the fresh system and see how it compares to what we saw from the damaged system. So this is the partitioning tool. It is possible to manually partition. It's beyond the scope of this video. It's beyond the scope of most of the documentation that I've looked at. And the default partitioning is just fine. This is a very light system. It's very small. So we're going to go ahead and select Y here and hit our carriage return. And so now, as you see here, it says that it is setting up the initial default partitioning and that this should take no more than 25 minutes. When I ran this process in the emulator, it took at least a couple of minutes. I would expect that on physical hardware, it's going to take significantly longer. So we've reached the part of the process where now the partitioning is complete. Basically, the formatting is done. And so the installer is actually running to set up the system on the MFM hard disk. This process will reboot in some amount of time, and then it will automatically continue after the restart. It will step through asking for the additional disks in the set. There are 6 disks in the essential utility set. So what I will do is just step through, and I'm not going to talk about each disk. When we're done, we will come back and talk about things. All right, so it looks like our install of the essential system of Unix System 5 Release 3.2 is complete. The system is rebooting. When it finishes rebooting, it should come up in Unix off of the hard drive. Just waiting for diagnostics to run. If diagnostics do run, that's a good sign that everything is healthy. The diagnostics on 3B2 run off of the hard drive. Okay, diagnostics are running. And let's see if it clears the diagnostic LED when it finishes the diagnostics. Okay, it cleared the LED, and we're showing that diagnostics did pass. So now we should be loading Unix off of the hard drive. Now that is still a slow process. It's going to take maybe a couple of minutes to get there. Really, the 3B2 is the type of computer system, since it's multitasking and multi-user, you're not supposed to be shutting it down and booting it up and rebooting it all the time. It's meant to just kind of stay on and serve its purpose. I can hear the drive seeking. The computer is a little noisy. It has a big fan in the power supply, but I can hear the drive seeking from time to time. The drive is very quiet, though. It is a CDC REN drive. I believe it is a REN 1. So basically what this is telling us is that if we don't get any errors, then everything should be good. So it is running a file system check at this moment. It does this pretty much on every boot, which is fine. That keeps the system healthy. All right, so it looks like it was successful. Okay, and it is attempting to mount the user partition. If it attempts to mount, that means that the file system check was successful. All right, so we're generating a new /Unix. Now, things are probably going to go off the rails here in just a moment because I will need to change our serial port parameters from 9608N1 to 9607E1. So as soon as I see garbled text, I'll know that it is time to change over. Now, I think it's also, yeah, there we go. It enumerated hardware. So right now, at the moment, I don't have any peripherals in the system. I don't have any option cards. I just have the floppy disk and the hard disk. Okay, so it is asking for our login, and we should be able to use setup, but I think as soon as I hit enter here, it is going to want us to switch. So let me go ahead and do that now. So we are setting for 9607E1, and I will carriage return. Yep, there we go. All right, so now we are in the setup wizard. Do we want to change the time zone? Sure. I am going to set it for central because I am in the central time zone. We do use DST here, although I'm sure that this OS is not patched for DST 05. Let's go ahead and we'll change the date and time. So let's go for month 11, day 4, and year 77. Hour, we'll go ahead and go with 22, and that's close enough. Okay, that is acceptable. So our date and time are now changed. Cron should restart as it should. When you change your time zone and your time and date, cron needs to restart to make sure it has the current idea of what time and date it is. Okay, so we need to enter a full name. We're just going to go ahead and go with user1 here. And the same for login ID. And we'll accept the defaults for user ID number and group ID number. And that is fine as well. So our home directory will be /user/user1. Now, at this stage, we're going to want to hit I for install. If you do happen to hit something else, like if you were going to hit Y for yes, on System 5 Linux Release 3, there is no backspace. So it's a little bit of not fun. You just have to get used to it. Now we're waiting for... do we want to give the user a password? Sure, we can do that. I am going to use one of my normal passwords, and I'll just have to remember to not show the contents of my password file. I know there are people that can reverse those hashes. Do I want to add another login? That's no. And this system is air-gapped. I do have a network card for it, but I don't know if I'm ever going to let it touch the internet, so I'm not super worried about that. If I do put the network card in, I probably will set these passwords, but we're going to skip it for now. Alright, and for administrative logins, we're going to skip setting passwords there as well. Alright, we are getting closer. We should almost be done with the wizard. Computer name. Yeah, I'm fine with that name. Oh, I said I want to change it, so yeah, let's do that. 3B to A. Okay, and console login. So now we can log in as user1, and we can use my normal password. Again, there's no backspace, so make sure you type it correctly. Now, we are in user1's home directory, which should be empty. Let's check that. Okay, let's go to the root, and let's do the same thing there. Now, as you can see here, we have similar folders as to what we had on the old system, but if we were to drill down a little bit, so if we went into the Etsy folder and did an ls there, excuse me, if we went into the Etsy folder and did an ls there, we should see a whole lot more files. Yeah, and we do. Let's go ahead and go back to the root level. Now, on the old system, the user folder was completely empty. So let's cd into the user folder and do an ls. So there you go. There is stuff there, and I would imagine the system would not run if a lot of that stuff was missing. So what that tells us is that either the previous owner of the computer had attempted to wipe the system, or uh, there was some horrible disk corruption. And either way, I don't think there was anything we could save. So we did the right thing. I think we're in a good place right now. We've got the base system installed. We still need to do a lot more work to get things going, but that can be left for later on, next episode, couple of weeks, something along those lines. I do want to show one more thing here. So let me promote to a root user account. and we didn't set a password, so it doesn't ask. Now, to restart the computer and to shut down the computer, you use the shutdown command. But the syntax is a little bit different than what you're probably used to if you've done this under Windows or under Linux. So I want to go ahead and shut this computer down. The command that I'm going to use is shutdown space dash I0 space dash G0 space dash Y. That's going to specify I0, run level 0. That will shut the machine down. If we were to choose 6, it would put us into run level 6, which is a restart. And then if we put it into run level 1, that would put us into single user mode. So we're going to go ahead and issue this command now. And we should get a message here. There's also going to be a broadcast message. There it is. And in a moment, the system will pretty much come to a halt. Now, this is a computer from the early 80s, 83, 84. This computer has the capability to shut itself off. That's something that didn't come to the Windows world, to the x86 world, until the late 1990s. So this was really revolutionary at the time. I can see my power LED is flashing. I know the system is headed for shutdown. So if we give it just another few moments, we should get a full shutdown here. It does take a little while. Everything takes a while on the 3B2. And there we go. The power supply is off. The drive is spinning down. And we're completely down. Everything is offline. So, that's good progress. I really like where we're at right now. We're in a good place. We have a solid base to work on. We still have plenty of stuff to do with the other 3B2s. We have plenty of stuff to do with the other projects that are in rotation at the moment. So let's continue on with learning what we can and having fun where we can. If you liked the video today, make sure to hit like. And if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you can get notifications when I release new videos on the 3B2 or any of the other projects that are in the rotation. I do want to say that I'm glad that you're here, that you've stayed until the end of the video, and I appreciate you. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.